Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of MTG Arena. Today is Friday, January 3rd, 2020. Oddly, it doesn't feel like it's going to be particularly hard to jump into calling things 2020. That's probably, if I was to guess, due to the fact that people have probably been thinking of saying 2020 or have said 2020. Hindsight is 2020, for instance, or just in the year 2020 has been something for a while now. We've got 12 more days until this rotation is done. Making decent progress. This is one of the things where it's kind of hard because there's really like no new button here for all the massive amount of filters here that honestly could come down to just a pull down list. I guess maybe you want to be able to check everything and that kind of makes sense, but there's really no division here. And if they start going back before previous expansions, just think about how long this list of expansions is going to be in 4 or 5 years. Like each group of 4 here is a year, so 4 more rows. Like you're gonna run out of room very fast. Whereas like I guess if you click this and this, I guess that does something different. But yeah, there's no key phrase here, unfortunately, unless you can just type new. Let's see. I typed new and it brought something up. Brought Chandra's Regulator, legendary artifact. Whenever and you are activate a loyalty ability of Chandra's Planewalker, you pay 3. If you do copy this ability, you may choose new targets for that copy. So it just has the word new in it. It's not that these cards are new. So yeah, it'd be really nice if there was a key phrase there. But yeah, I have been getting cards and then not showing them off because I'm playing a lot off screen. I'm getting cards certainly because of that. I'm getting cards otherwise just because I'm at the end of the mastery level. The whole system is kind of bad for a streamer. The only thing I can really stack is the packs, and I have been doing that. I haven't been opening packs otherwise. Profile wise, otherwise, we're just trying to play ranked, and that's what we'll do today. Season ends in 28 days, so they're giving you, I guess, fair warning. And then at some point we are going to want a well, almost certainly there will be a ranked draft for Theros Beyond Death, which would make a lot of sense to play that. As for the standard shakeup, I did that off screen and it got me 3,000 extra XP and 1 card style and another card style, which it's pretty blatantly obvious at this point card styles are worthless. So that just has us play ranked, which we have until the next expansion to play our current decks, and then it will be deck rebuild time. And hopefully with the power of 2 expansions worth of cards after the deck, after purchasing 50 packs, and yeah, I think we'll probably just keep it strictly 50 for this one, just so I can sit on some more gold, just in case. But yeah, after purchasing 50 packs, and I would hopefully have quite a collection of new cards from the new expansion. What I don't expect to happen in Magic, more than any other collectible card game or any other game, is I don't expect there to ever be an expansion that is just so awful that it's not worth buying any of those cards. It really does feel like that is more of a factor of something that would come down to your timing. Like, it really probably wouldn't make a lot of sense to buy alpha cards if you were going to try and play alpha cards in Magic, because they would be banned, so that there would be no way to play them. But then, of course, it would make a lot of sense to buy alpha cards if you're a collector and you're getting a good price on them. And that's part of the financial aspect of Magic that I'd kind of like to see disappear and go away. So, yeah. That is one slight concern. Let's do no attack there. I'm playing the most recent. I really have just become a walking billboard for the cell phone game Destiny Child, but it literally is the only game on my phone that I have installed, and I am actually enjoying it. Right now, there's a world boss, monochrome Moa, to anime girls. Well, it's supposed to be one character who is either bipolar or has a split personality. The normal version of Moa is multiple personalities merged together. But the art certainly has caught my attention as their anime lewd characters. But there's really nothing else you can say about it. Otherwise, there is that weirdness, certainly, and just lack of opportunity to really promote adult games, because you do just come off as a creep, and there really isn't a lot more to say there. And I would argue Destiny Child tries to have more story than most, and it definitely is not low effort as a gacha game. It is putting in 100% effort to always have a new character come out that catches somebody's attention so that people want to buy it. At least a significant amount of the community want to buy it. Video game wise, I didn't do anything. I did take a small break to watch Spider-Man Homecoming and put together a Lego set. I felt a little obliged, since it was a gift given to me for Christmas, to probably put it together sooner rather than later, whereas the sets I bought for myself around Black Friday were intended to be annual supplies. Like, I don't know if that's a ridiculous thing to do or just a kind thing to do. I would argue it's a kind thing to do, to just, if you are given a gift, use it and be kind of auspicious about using it, so that the person who gives it to you feels like you appreciated it. Whereas if you buy something for yourself, you can buy it when you actually need it, or you can buy it for yourself when it's on sale and wait until you actually feel like using it. Particularly with Legos, they're so expensive, you really do need to kind of get things on sale and stretch out your enjoyment of them. As for Spider-Man Homecoming, it was a fine movie. It really felt like just another one of those unimportant side stories to the Adventure series. I think that Sony, or Columbia Pictures, which I think is a subsidiary of Sony, but I could be wrong about that, has already said that they're going to just reboot Spider-Man yet again for the 4th or 5th time in a decade, and that they are pulling him back out of the extended Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is ridiculous and stupid. But yeah, they clearly don't know what to do other than to tell his Spider-Man's origin story over and over again. And that becomes a problem. And in all fairness, since I tried to read DC books, not Marvel books per se, I really don't think I could name much of a storyline better than Spider-Man's origin to turn into a movie. You do the origin, you do Venom, and you do the Lizard maybe. You throw out some other characters maybe. I do think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe did figure out a way to stretch out their series and make trilogies out of movies that really would have been standalone sequels, just by having origin stories of lesser characters take at least half of the movie up in a sequel. So you have something like Thor and well, Thor might be a bad example because I didn't see Thor 2, but let's see. I don't know if any of them are actually good examples. I might just really be dreaming up this thought. Captain America, I guess, would be the best example, where Captain America 2 was trying to introduce Bucky and focus on him. I believe that was in Captain America 2. But yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, did that a lot too. Also, where they, in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, introduced more characters. You just keep on introducing characters and do smaller, tiny character introductions, which that is very much in line with the comic books. Like every single issue of a comic book is often introducing a new bad guy, or maybe at least 6 out of 12 new bad 6 new bad guys out of 12 issues. But yeah, I don't know what you can do with Spider-Man, because they absolutely refuse, and I don't think even Marvel would allow them to do a more adult Spider-Man, an adult Spider-Man with Mary Jane. Yep, we're already having network trouble, and this really is just magic at this point. Like, that there's no argument that a Friday the 3rd, like, I seriously doubt people are still off from school. Like, maybe they do still have an extended break from school and work, and maybe slightly more people are playing Magic right now, but there really is no justification for as much network trouble as this has had. Yeah, the Into the Spider-Verse movie was by far the best idea, and that introduced several different Spider-Men, and it clearly should just be, if Sony wanted to make money, Spider-Man is our cartoon series, and we're not going to bother to do any live action Spider-Man at all, and instead we'll greenlight 3 or 4 different shorts or full-length movies based on the Into the Spider-Verse characters. Like, you got Miles Morales there, which is the new Spider-Man. At least he was for a while. So have a series of Miles Morales cartoons, have a series of Spider-Ham cartoons, get the anime girl, Spider Girl from the future, give her short. Yeah, you could easily, if not give them a full 2-hour movie, give them a short, like 20-minute cartoons, put those in a collection, put those in theater. Speaking of theaters, it does seem like that last year Disney earned like 80% of all the movie going income, which really is just a kiss of death for movie going, and also a huge red flag, and shows that the mergers that have been allowed by Disney to become this mega conglomerate that really isn't even creating much new, instead just acquiring things, just really shouldn't have happened. Like, Disney is one of the best forward-focusing examples of where capitalism unchecked goes. Like, it's not about creativity, it's not about hiring people, it's about bringing in foreign animators, which they did, and acquiring other companies to then lay off a bunch of people and streamline and reduce the inefficiency that an economy actually needs. Businesses literally need to be inefficient, otherwise you won't hire anyone. A perfectly efficient business would have no employees. And this is something that Twilight Zone episodes explained clearly, and everyone knew, and just people pretend like they don't know decades ago. They were afraid of automation, like when the assembly line was created. They were afraid of automation in the middle of the large world wars, when the amount of workers that existed were incredibly low, and they were actually hiring women for the first time to work on building planes and construction and such. But yeah, now people just let it happen with nary a peep. In a weird way too, for all the outrage on the internet, it seems like a lot of the outrage is misplaced personally to me. Like, I think I could think of better ways to direct outrage and better ways to actually affect change than a lot of things that got brought up. Wall of Lost Thoughts. This guy's just trying to make me run out of cards, but he's not really gonna do it. So yeah, I've got a victory. I think I pretty well could get victory anyways. Whenever you cast a blue spell, target a player, top 2 cards of their library into the graveyard. So I have like 12 cards, 10 cards. 8 cards. 6 cards. He's getting close, but not close enough, clearly. Yeah, as for the accountability, besides playing with Lego and watching a Spider-Man movie, which was fine, it wasn't great, but there was nothing really wrong with it as far as I could tell. I just worked on my project. I've got a rudimentary calendar, but there's so small screen space that I don't think I can really do anything with the calendar too much. I can invert the image in a way so it highlights what day it is, and I can show what day of the week it is, and that's pretty much all the calendar can do. I don't know if I can really put a big enough square or indicator of any kind that any specific day has any specific number of events or even if it has events at all. Since the calendar is really just there as a visual offset for the fact that the QR code that links to the calendar needs to be on the screen. I just need something on the side of the screen to the other side of it. That was my choice so far. But then the calendar kind of does require a lot of screen space, and I love easy victories, certainly. So there might definitely be a point to just rethink it. It wouldn't be completely lost coding, because as I'm just trying to get the visual aesthetics right, and it wouldn't be completely lost coding though, because I do have that opportunity where I can draw the calendar a lot bigger in a different position on the screen if there happens to be absolutely nothing happening in that specific day. It wouldn't really make a lot of sense to have a list of upcoming events if the next upcoming event is in more than 48 hours. And I think 48 hours probably would be the right break-off point. There's because it would make sense if there was a meeting, say, the next day to highlight that. But if there's 1-2 days later, you might as well just show the whole month. And in part encourage people. And it probably would stagger down a little bit also. Probably I'll have a visual mode where this is the daily schedules if there are daily things happening. This is the weekly schedules if there's things happening specifically this week and there's a lot to show. And then this is the monthly schedule. And I suppose if your calendar just has no events on it at all and you're using this device, at that point it would just be a no events blank screen. Like, I'll just put a big old frowny face or something there. It's like, no, well, what's the point there? At that point, it really does also point out that this electric signage for conference rooms or offices falls apart and doesn't justify itself if you're not using a room to its a real efficiency. If it is just straight up a storage room, or unused square footage. But there's a lot of tricks that in the programming that kind of are crazy. For instance, you need to know if it's a leap year. How do you calculate if something's a leap year? Well, you have to divide it by 600 and see if it divides perfectly evenly. But if it divides by 400, I believe, and I'm gonna get all these numbers wrong, then it actually isn't a leap year. But then if it divides perfectly by 4, then it is a year, a leap year again. So there's 4 if-else conditional statements that either put it back in the category half the time or take it out of the category of being a leap year, which is a lot of work to do in calculation. And frankly, if I was using a better time library, it probably could just tell me that directly instead of me having to calculate it manually. But it doesn't seem like they had that built in as a function. And as I'm adjusting the graphics and everything, I'm using a lot of calculations that that will just all be hand-coded, hard-coded locations. Instead of saying take the total resolution and divide by half and add 20 pixels or something, it'll just be take what I know the total resolution is, divide it by half once in my using a calculator, and then hard code the number. I did also add into the QR code and a function, a very, very long collection of 4 arrays of how many characters a QR code at a certain version equals size. Figuring that out is even crazy. It's like 21 by 21 modules, which could be a pixel or could be 4 pixels, 2 by 2, depending on how you want to depict it. But yeah, you take those 21 by 21 modules and then you add +4 on each side, so it would be +4 to the x, +4 to the y for every version number you go up. For every version there is a high quarterly quantile, which is second highest error correction, medium error correction, low error correction, which if you use lower versions of error correction, you can put more amounts of data, and so it's just an incredibly long list of 40 numbers, and I'm just using alphanumeric characters. There's actually ways to encode it where it would be binary or kanji or just numbers into a QR code, but for my purposes I'm just doing alphanumeric, and that would change the amount of data you could put in it also. But so what I did is I made those 4 arrays, and then I'm working on what should be the simple part of, is this array number bigger than the length, which should just be the number of characters of the text that you want to encode. And for some reason that's still not really working. It is cutting off the last bit every time, and this probably is a really stupid error that I'm just not looking at. But because it's cutting off the last few characters, it's making a valid QR code. It's just the QR code doesn't have all the text in it, all of the link, so it wouldn't work because of that. Meanwhile, the main frustration, which was the networking part, I haven't gone back and touched. So there's definitely a factor there to consider of, like, I really need to go back and start putting my nose to the grindstone on as far as the network part and the part of actually connecting to the calendar and pulling all of the dates out. The main limitation factor there is I've pretty much figured I would make an array of 255 events. That would be an array and a bit array of events, and in those events we would have the time associated with them and probably a unique ID. Then I would have to take up more memory to see the problem is the repetition there, and this is part I haven't thought all the way through, is I'm gonna have to take up a lot of memory to have each event that does have a unique, universally unique ID. Let's see. There we go, that should work fine. We'll probably cast some kind of spell. Yeah. I gotta boil down the calendar, which I probably will have to get in chunks, into a collection of universally unique IDs. And that collection of universally unique IDs can have repetitions, so that doesn't directly equate to just an event. It equates to something else. And because the calendar could change at any time, there's more things that have to be done to ensure the safety of the data and that it's accurate. So I could easily eliminate any events that don't matter, things that have already ended. But then if you eliminate that list, depending on how big your calendar is, you're going to have to probably ignore that list forever. Which might be best done with just a secondary text file, frankly. It might just be easier to make a secondary settings file specifically just for events. And honestly, it might be better just to save the entire calendar to the memory, to the board. But I wouldn't really want to do that. Does this guy have reach? Yes, he does. So I could attack with this and then he could let it through. Let's just see what he decides to do. For security reasons, I guess making a long list of just UUIDs. Of specifically UUIDs, IDs of events that have just happened in the past and don't matter, might be easier and quicker to process than it would be to constantly always look at the entirety of a calendar and see that if it starts 10 years ago and there's 10 years of old meetings, that doesn't really matter so much. Well, let's see how this goes. Black. That. I think this probably goes fine. Tap this guy. And then that's 13. So yeah, if this guy can kill this guy and attack, I've lost with his 2 cards. I probably should have not attacked with one of these guys and had a backup. Like, this guy doesn't have trample, just has reach and flash. The main part of the coding of events is just figuring out and running the calculations of, like, the standard for iCalendars is a little crazy on the repetitions in particular. It's easy enough to say this has an end date of a specific amount and it doesn't have any repetitions, so I can put that event in the long list of things that are uninteresting, but that's about the best I can do there. And at a certain point, it really is a problem that would just be a problem with people cleaning up their calendars. Like, you can't have a calendar with events from 10 years ago that you're still running off of. You should archive some of that. You should move on to a new calendar. In the real world, the paper equivalent of this is if you had one calendar for 1 year and you just kept adding more and more to it every year instead of getting a new calendar. It's never really worked that way. In theory, I would run out of space on the file of events and then just have to I'd run out of space on the file and then I'd just have to, like, delete it and start over. That's pretty much all I could do. Or just write over it and put newer data. At a certain point, I guess it would just be hoping to... I could put in a special date to say just don't worry about things before this date, to compress the file a little bit more, but that really wouldn't work with the UID system. Alright, so he's gonna play Bola Citadel. So our move is going to be to just wait, what does this do? Each opponent loses 1 life. Ooh. Let's go ahead and see if we can kill this guy. Because I don't think I can really afford... This is a good card. If this guy can just sacrifice his life and put characters on the field, remove a wish counter, search your library for card. If it's in your hand, then shuffle in the library. Opponent gains the control of it next turn. Alright. So that's just giving him every card he wants. And this is just going to do like double damage. Whenever you pay life, put that many blood counters to destroy a target creature. Interesting. So he's just got everything on the field now he could ever use. This is a nice strategy, I'm seeing. It's really a step-up strategy with better cards of what I'm playing. Alright. that. And I think it would probably be best to just hold on to what I've got. I just make a effort to get these two on the field, and once I start attacking, get something there. Diviner's Lockbox. Choose your card's name, then reveal the top card in your library. If it's that card name is chosen, sacrifice Diviner's Lockboxes and draw, let's see, 3 cards. So that works really great because he has Bola Citadel, so that means he knows exactly what is on the top of his deck. So he effectively cheated that. But I still think I might win here. There's a decent chance I still might win. Yeah, after I get the calendar programming done, the only other thing I have is the Bluetooth idea, which will be by far the hardest part. And I've been putting it off till the end because I wanted to refresh myself mentally as far as just where should I let this guy attack and get twice as much health, or just kill him now? Probably should just kill him now. Actually, I should have blocked with this, so I would have had a flying creature. That was a mistake. Let's see. If I played this, would I still have 4? I'd have 3. Don't want that. Put that on top, I guess. I guess. Now I'm gonna come back and see if I can get the Taste of Death card. That way I could sacrifice 3, make him sacrifice 3, and just really drive him crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and attack with this also. Forgot every time I attack it's gonna take health, so that really wasn't worth it. Yeah, but after the Bluetooth programming, it really would just be a matter of getting some other things polished, and that's it. I want to set up an over-the-air update. It would be really, I think, helpful for a device that you're encouraged to install into your walls, into a light switch box. To have to pull those down and plug them in to update would be kind of crazy. That being said, because I am trying to be as secure about this as possible, as this is, I guess, technically an Internet of Things type device, I want to make sure that there's I'm not going to turn the over-the-air updates on by default, or that way I guess an internal company could try and have their own custom code or Perhaps there's even a secondary revenue source there where people ask for custom code and custom support at some point in the future. But after a certain point, it is just polishing. I probably should make a 3D print model of a piece of plastic I need to just adapt it, a plastic adapter. So he screwed up here, and I'm good. The only problem is I will be sacrificing this guy, and that kind of sucks. But if I can get one more land, that's all I'm really asking for here. Give me one more land so I can put this on the field, so I can sacrifice it while keeping this on the field. And we got it. Then we can sacrifice that. Then we can attack for 2 damage, and we'll take 1 damage, and it doesn't matter. This also puts him in a bad position because now if he tries to use Bola Citadel, he's going to be in trouble health-wise. We don't have a ton of video game news, and apparently I didn't even bring it up. But we have a little bit more. We are getting slightly better bits of information and slightly better games. It is really just a tiny increment, though. We still are very much, it's a new year. The Steam Winter Sale is over. There's the Epic Game Store is giving away games now more on a week-long basis than a daily basis. And so we are, with the exception I guess of the good old game sale, pretty much done. And we'll be pretty much done, I think, with sales and such for a long while. Maybe you'll get a sale of a Chinese New Year or a Valentine's Day sale. It always strikes me that Steam should probably sell a bunch of like visual novels and romance games during Valentine's Day, but those are the type of games that really never go on sale, so it doesn't happen. That it really is more up to the developers of those games. Okay. I don't have enough, apparently, to cast this. Otherwise, I could just play Bola Citadel, and I think I would win pretty easily there. I'm just going to go with no attack. Because all I really need is Bola Citadel. I could do 10 damage easily. It is an interesting thought about what, now that it is 2020, what's the game that we're even excited about? Like, what's the next big thing that's going to come out? Because this is what happens always at the beginning of the years. You're just in this long slump where kind of nothing happens for 2 or 3 months. Last of Us 2 might be coming out relatively recently. Maybe there's some other games that are coming out and I just don't remember or realize that they're coming out. But yeah, I don't think there really is a lot. And if I just to specifically think about what's coming out in 2020, what are we hyped for? Cyberpunk 2077 might be coming out. Maybe. That's kind of a big maybe. Is this guy gonna try and attack? Let's go ahead and put this back on the field.
Defeating you will not bring
This guy's
pleasure,
trying a lot of
nor
things.
pain. The blood calls to your soul.
So I'm gonna take like a 10 damage hit. I probably could have just tapped that guy. Oh, thank goodness I couldn't have. That would have sucked. It's trying really, really hard. This just doesn't have any wish counters on it. Ah, so the 3 wishes are just gone on that one. Well, that's fine. We'll just play this. Other one. He's got like 24 health. That sucks. I possibly could have played better here. Just gotta figure out if this is gonna work or not. Interesting. Can I get one more health anyway? Nope. So, he got me. Game well fought there. Like, it's nice to see good games and not what is almost predominantly BS games that happen. And I would say Magic is better than Hearthstone by far on that point. Is you really don't see a lot of just random BS wins or manipulating the meta so badly that you cannot be defeated. And perhaps that is one of the advantages of Magic and Wizards of the Coast in Eternal Greediness, is that they do recognize and the importance of just constantly adding cards of value, whereas Hearthstone was fairly frequently adding very few cards of value, and thus they became the default obvious cards to play and the obvious cards to craft and have. I guess I'm just eternally looking for more time, so we should just start going through the news and work our way to wrapping things up. At some point I do need to make a decision to start recording footage again. At the very least I need to finish the the concept of second Halloween, and if it turns out after second Halloween I'm really only airing like one show, something needs to air on my channel at the very least, and I am getting probably way too dangerously close to having little to nothing to air. I know I'm seeing things that are coming out on my channel, and I'm like, oh, I thought that was 3 or 4 months ago, and really I've just been real bad about making content. So we have a game here called FLS, which they say is a sci-fi sandbox racing game. It looks to me like it's probably just some neon rings you fly through, and that's it. It looks like something that would probably make you motion sick and just make your eyes hurt after a while. The general concept might work. Faster than light speed type flying through rings. The concept itself kind of would make sense, but it doesn't look like the visual approach is the right one that I would like. This is $8.49 discounted. It's English full audio, only single player too, so for a soft sci-fi sandbox racing game, you're really not going to get a lot here. And then when you think about like the racing games that exist, like Mario Kart and such, there's no power-ups, there's no characters, there's no really, it doesn't even look like there's a major predefined number of maps. It seems rather lacking in content. So if I could get Bola Citadel now, I could probably win that game in 2 turns. Because I could just play a bunch more characters until I become Vindictive Vampire. I could play Taste of Death to get rid of at least 3 of these guys. Lots of other creatures now have trample because this one gives elementals trample. It would be, I guess, an interesting question to ask myself. Is it easier for me to do, at the moment, another wishlist cleanup video, which I've probably done far too many back-to-back of those, or would I be better off just trying very hard to make something else? Tap target card. 1 and 1 and 2. And I'm gonna attack with these 2. Yeah, I was hoping he would do that, but that seems like it's unlikely to happen. Probably should have only attacked with this one and kept this one on the field so I can block with it. Well, he's playing a big strategy here, and that may have won the game for him, because my Taste of Death isn't gonna win this for me alone. I need Bola Citadel. I need the heart of the cards to give me Bola Citadel versus any other card. Next we have a game on Steam here called Ministry of Law, or Mini Law, Ministry of Law. It looks like it's mostly a shooter adventure game. It looks a little unpolished visually, a little 8-bit pixely. It's $8.99 discounted. It's single player, third party agreement, full audio, English, 2 achievements. I guess I'll put this on my follow list, and have logged out of Steam unfortunately, so I can't just by default do that. Had a network connection error, so I don't know where I am with this. Is the network going to do anything, or should I just concede and move forward? That's the question. Let's give it a little bit of time and then think about it. Next we have a game on Steam here called Mini Island Night, which, if I was to guess, is a nighttime shooter, high action, side-scrolling game. Seems like you just go back and forth and don't do anything else, and it being set at night is a major visual hindrance. Like, they want $2.34 on this. The other games they've made are Dog Island, Soul Island, Red Island, so they're just selling the exact same game over and over again. And I believe if I was hovering over any of these and they had any reviews, they would say English, Korean, 20 to 35 minutes of playtime. Yeah, they really are just selling the same game over and over again. 20 to 35 minutes for $2.24 is not worth it. I get an hour's worth of entertainment spending making badges on Steam storefront, and that's the minimum level of entertainment. And in all fairness, I spend a lot more money probably making and crafting badges. Well, you can see I just tried to concede there and that didn't work. So let's just hard exit and relaunch the game. I assume I lost there. Next we have a game on Steam. It's a little bit too late at this point to be selling Christmas themed games. Zombie Claws being not particularly a huge Christmas themed game, but it is just like asset flip that run around the place. Alright. How this guy could still be waiting for my response, I don't know, but it jumped me back in the game, so I guess I have to do this. And now it's just gonna try and catch up. And we'll see if the other guy responds now. See, the irony here is because of the network trouble, he may now, on his response, not respond, which at some point might mean I win. That would be crazy. Let's see. Yeah, as for this game, Zombie Claws, it really doesn't look like anything. In fact, this whole room and house even looks like it is just copy and paste asset flips. I did think of an idea. This game is $3.83 discounted, and it's promoting a game called The Walking Evil. It's English full audio with Russian, Portuguese, Chinese, and German, which is an odd combination of languages. I thought that you might have a fun time writing a short story or making a movie about the idea that Santa Claus's naughty and nice list doesn't actually track truly evil people, and possibly truly good people. Like, it's only nice, not perfect people, and naughty, not evil people, and the slight difference there. And so the who's been sleeping list, or who is sleeping at the moment, which you assume that's a list because in the whole Santa Claus thing, then might not have the same number of people as the combined naughty and nice lists. And then whoever the head accountant elf of Santa Claus finds out this shocking surprise and goes on a murder spree killing truly evil people and becomes the coal killer, like, as he leaves sacks of coal as he murders these bad guys. But I thought that would be kind of a funny thing. He really couldn't do it as a cartoon because it's too dark, but you could do it as a avant-garde movie, certainly. Moving on from my dumb ideas, though, we have a game called M.A.Lee, which there's already a game on Steam called Emily, and this probably is just trying to make name confusion for this. This looks like it's an RPG Maker game, but it is suffering from such terrible dark screenshot syndrome, I couldn't tell. It's $6.99 with no discount and English only, and does not deserve any more breath. And yeah, there's just kind of nothing I can do here. Sacrifice food and get my health back up, I guess. The only thing I can really do is just, like, turn one of these. That's pretty much all I can do. Next we have a game on Steam that's a bunch of Asian characters slash stayer, which looks like it is anthropomorphic foxes or cats, and it looks to me like it probably is a Chinese adventure hidden object game, for lack of a better term. It's $1.99 English and Chinese, full audio, it says on both. I question that. Let's see. Come on. I'm trying to sacrifice this food and the icon's in the way, which happens too often in Magic. Like, that never happened in Hearthstone. Like, we never had anything that they could just get in the way and yeah, I guess the biggest question at the moment as far as 2020 is, when is the next big adpocalypse going to happen? Like, that's, as far as a YouTube content creator, that's the real question. It's like, what's going to happen next time that threatens the livelihood of content creators? I have to decline this because I'm gonna lose regardless. I guess I don't have to decline it, but I might as well. Next we have a game on Steam called Mr. Joshua Carrot, which is clearly a low effort troll Russian game if I was to guess. Just looks weird for weirdness sake. English is not supported, it's 99 cents and it's Russian only, so yeah. I don't know if perhaps there is a significant weird avant-garde like group of fans in Russia of these games. I suspect the answer is probably no. But who's to say? Like, if there was something that was the equivalent of the punk scene that existed in the 70s and 80s in the UK, and that punk scene never really caught off or became known at all around the rest of the world, I could certainly see how a lot of other people would look at punk rock and the punk fashion style and say that that's just a bunch of weird people doing weird things with no real fan base there. And that's kind of where it feels like with a lot of the weird games from Russia, and the weird games in general from Russia and China and Korea sometimes also. On the other hand, it would be incredibly odd in this internet connected world to say there was a scene, for instance, K-pop fans, and somehow people weren't aware of that, because people know that K-pop exists. They know K-pop exists way more than they know anime exists. So anime was the niche art style in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and now I would say it's a pretty mainstream art style. So if anything, I would imagine these trends are just getting more and more universal and well known, at least well known enough that you know they exist, even if you don't care or enjoy K-pop. But there is something, I guess, to be said about the truly bizarre, the things that look like they are either done while people are heavily under the effects of drugs or alcohol, or just done by crazy people. And the fact that these are trying to be sold on the mostly worldwide marketplace of Steam seems weird too. By the way, I am aware, ever so briefly, like just a little bit, about the US taking some kind of military action against Iran and potentially starting World War III. It doesn't have anything really to do with video games. If Iran was known for being a source of video games, maybe then I could talk about it. But it's just really not my purview. Yeah, the only thing I could really say is that Iran, I believe, is heavily under Shia law, or something like Shia law, heavily under religious Muslim constrictions, I think so, and I might even be wrong about that. So any kind of artistic expression in the form of video games would be very limited and very few and far between. If there's been any Iranian who actually lives in Iran that has made any kind of video game, I can't think of it. There's probably some people that have moved out of Iran that made video games. There would be Iranians, and yeah, there's bits of news like that happens fairly frequently that just aren't video game related, so no point in talking about it and getting political on a video game channel. I mean, even some of the things I say get slightly more of a video game preference of politics, like talking about how most Chinese games are cheap and bad quality, or how most Russian games are cheap and bad quality, but then Japanese games tend to be weird but good quality, usually speaking, generalizing. Moving on, we have a game here that is just a bunch of Asian characters. It is my suspicion, with the animation style being a little off and the backgrounds being very generic, and it being 4x3, that this is a Chinese visual novel attempt. English is not supported, it's $12.74, and no, it's Japanese, so I was wrong, and that happens too. So it's a low effort Japanese visual novel with one character and the text all over the screen. There we go. All attacks. I think I might be able to win this turn. Yep. 1, 2, 3. We're making decent victories, working our way up the silver tier. We were at gold tier 1, I believe, before I just hit a wall. And my general hope is, because we're always hoping to improve more, is that I would actually make it even higher into the platinum tiers. I'd have to look and see what the tier list actually is, because I think there's something even above platinum tiers in ranked play. Yeah, but once I open 50 packs, there really is no good reason why I wouldn't be able to have a better deck and a more winning deck. Gamatsu has an article here. Yuji Horai says Dragon Quest XII is, quote, still a little while ahead, but it is kind of the confirmation that yes, there is a Dragon Quest XII in development. But they also have that augmented walking game called Dragon Quest Walk that they're working on for Japan, I think, only, at least to start. Which kind of makes sense, because Dragon Quest Walk is not going to beat Pokemon Go as far as the rest of the world, when Dragon Quest is the lesser known product. And it's the older product too, so it really was Dragon Quest's mistake to not promote their game more and push it as much as Nintendo pushed Pokemon. Although some of the older Dragon Quest games also they're just JRPGs, they're not simplified JRPG games like Pokemon is, so it really was a different target audience. Next we have a game on Steam called Launch Party, which seems to be something similar to Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes type game, except for this time you're launching nuclear missiles. There's a whole bunch of buttons that are colorfully animated, and I would argue probably too colorfully animated, which probably is just there because the instructions in black and white probably tell you different colors to confuse you. So this is early access for $14.99, English only. Is it single player? No, it's shared screen co-op. That is what they're calling it. The problem here, particularly of this game, is the same problem that happened with Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. I kind of wanted to play that game, sorta, and it would have been fun for about 30 minutes or so, but because it required to get any real enjoyment out of it, a second person, it really was a game that sold very well at the PAXs and was played a lot at different PAXs, but kind of failed to have a good sales pitch to an individual gamer who isn't going to have a lot of friends who want to play with him, or a lot of friends who can play with them. A lot of multiplayer games are definitely like that, and that's part of why the mileage may vary very much as far as playing co-op games or multiplayer games. Seriously? You're gonna do this to me? Next we have a game on Steam called Cosmos, which just looks like a fly around asteroid shooting game, space shooter, with 8-bit graphics and dialogue for some reason. It's 59 cents discounted, English full audio, it says. Nothing here polished enough to make me interested. They're saying it's an adventure game. This is one of those games also that doesn't have a video, which that is always questionable. Like, I find it weird that Steam doesn't force them to have a have I should have discarded this actually. That would have been the smarter move. Yeah. If Steam just forced everybody to have a video and put up a video, that would be way better. And it just as a, if you're not willing to put in this effort, we will eliminate. They probably eliminate less than 3% of all submissions to the Steam storefront, but it would be enough to say, hey, we have this minimum amount of quality that we require. So, yeah. TechRaptor has an article here. The Witcher is currently the biggest TV series in the world. Perhaps getting some of the lost passion from fans of Game of Thrones, if I was to guess. I haven't gotten around to actually watching it. That's another rabbit hole I certainly could go under. I could pop on The Witcher and do some programming and watch it, but I'm not super motivated to watch it. I think it'll just be there whenever, and getting distracted at the moment is not my main focus or main desire. I could probably edit some more videos of this, but I really haven't even been breaking up Magic Arena, since I'm gonna pretty much just put them on the weekends. Making 3 videos a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday equates to having 1 extra video every week. So it's 52 weeks in a year. That would mean I'll be 52 episodes ahead by the end of 2020, which means I'd be an entire year ahead by the end of 2020 as far as Magic Arena, which I guess that works fine. Yeah, depending on if I make any other content or not. Yeah, I've really got to make some other content though. I need at least 2 time slots filled, like every day, and the weekend stuff I've never really tried, but having 2 or 3 time slots filled even on the weekend wouldn't be a terrible idea. I should have played this instead. Oh well. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. Team 17, the makers of the Worm series, for lack of a better describer, has acquired the UK studio Yeti Entertainment for 1.85 million, which seems like a reasonable amount of money to acquire a company, assuming the company is actually worth something, because we will see another story where one of the companies has sold an entire subsidiary that they acquired for 1 yen, like 1 Japanese dollar. Well, frankly, 1 yen is closer, is 1 Japanese penny. 100 yen is about $1. Komatsu has an article here. Vince Zampella is going to lead a rebranded DICE Los Angeles with plans to launch an original game, the Respawn Entertainment co-founder's next venture. Now this character here, unless I'm wrong, is a One Punch Man character. Like, this guy looks definitely like a One Punch Man character. So I have no idea why he's standing behind that image. That really wouldn't be much of an original game if it's a One Punch Man anime based game, but I guess maybe that could be an original game. Didn't read any more of this article, but I'm not expecting amazingly great things from it. Let's see. Yeah, I've lost you. The only thing I could do is this. Just try to regain my health back in some way. But I just needed more mana so I could play this at some point. The fact that he stole my bow, which I believe he did, and used it against me, stinks. That's no fun. Play 40 lands. It's kind of shocking. I mean, I've been going an hour and a half and I still haven't played 40 lands. We're doing fairly decent on victories, but it does also kind of go to show that if it takes an hour and a half to get 5 victories and they want you to get 15 victories a day, they want you to spend 4.5 hours a day playing Magic Arena, which is not realistic. Just adjust the gameplay speed a little bit, get it down to 2 hours, and that seems reasonable, but 4.5 hours, not a reasonable number. That is kind of their whole shtick, as it seems in the past, is that they want Magic to be a lifestyle game, which is their way of saying they want to encourage everybody to be whales and spend a ton of money on it, and because they want them to spend a bunch of money on it, they want them to spend a bunch of time on it so they feel committed. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article here from February of 2016 that they're republishing or re-promoting. 6 ways to make your games more appealing to speedrunners, which maybe in 2016 that made a lot more sense than it does now. I don't think there is a I don't think there really is a good reason to make your game appealing to speedrunners. It's really a secondary thought that you should have. I told Lucas Pope in a tweet once that his game, the Oberdin game, was it The Return of Obra Dinn? If he had just changed some of the names around so it randomized each time, that would be an interesting speed run, because it is such a linear logic puzzle that gets ruined by the fact that if you just have a list of all the solutions, you can fill out the entire book instantaneously. Like a speed run in The Return of Obra Dinn, I think could take less than 5 minutes. Like really easily a 100% speed run. Whereas if the names changed and the positions changed in the book, but the events stayed the same, it wouldn't be a lot of extra programming. On the other hand, a lot of speedruns are just boring as all get out. In fact, there's been a series of older games being speedrun that have been coming out on the Games Done Quick YouTube channel, I believe, and I haven't watched a single one because they're just old NES games that I've kind of fallen out of love with NES games in the sense that I'd actually want to watch a speedrun of them. I've seen enough speedruns too. I've had my fill, and mostly I'm just looking for speedruns of games I've never heard about, never seen, to see if there might be a reason to legitimately play a game like that. The game that is being speedrun. Just do no attacks there. Next we have a game on Steam called The Amazing TK's Suburban Nightmare, which is a dark screenshot syndrome type game. It looks like it's an asset flip game where you're running around a dark area, maybe collecting dots, kind of like a 3D Pac-Man, and fighting some form of monsters. Requires a controller. It's $19.99, and it's single player only, oddly. Third party EULA, English with full audio, allegedly. It's just got a ton of red flags on it. Yep, this is not a game I think is good. And it's probably pretty obvious it's not good. Let's do this so we can finally put this on the field. And then do no attacks. Gamasutra has an article here. Nexon sells off mobile developer Gloops for $1 yen. So they literally don't even value it. That's less than a penny when converted to US dollars. The company was originally acquired for $36.5 billion yen, roughly $468 million back in 2012. So you're talking 8 years to lose $500 million in revenue. And I suppose when you sell a game company off at that price, it's probably in a way of affecting or getting rid of bad debt. That would be my guess. And it's kind of a tax write-off type thing. That would be the reason you would do something like that, is because it's some kind of major tax write-off. Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking there. I'm gonna win for sure at this rate. We're still getting some pretty garbage games. We have one here called Game Book, which seems to literally just be a blank book with perhaps a choose your own adventure style bits of text. They're tagging it as a web publishing game, which why does that tag even exist? See, it almost feels like this is some kind of software to make screenshots for games that aren't actually developed. This is $9.99, English only, and it's just like total garbage. Like, not something that needs to be on Steam. Yeah, I think, frankly, development tools, game development tools, just should be split off on a subdomain. Like, if people were going to sell development tools, including things like RPG Maker, it should be on dev.steam.com, not steam.com. And then the What's on Steam Twitter app hopefully would not catch them. Because right now, a lot of things are coming out on Steam that really do look like they're game dev tools, and bad game dev tools at that point. Not industry standard, not something you'd really want to ever learn or use. Next we have a game on Steam called Inferno, which this guy looks like a Cenobite somewhat, but it's in 8-bit pixel graphics, and it looks like it is just an isometric top-down twin-stick shooter, and looks like it runs very poorly and isn't really much of anything. In a weird way, this is a combination of two bad ideas, bad gameplay design ideas, and maybe an artistic direction with bad animation skills. It's $8.99. Says it supports a bunch of languages. Yep, not interesting though. The whole Hellraiser, Cenobites, Clive Barker art style concept is something that would have fallen through the cracks and nobody would have done anything but laugh at it if the animation in those original comics and in the original movies weren't at least somewhat well done. The effects, the visuals. That being said, there, to my surprise, have been other Hellraiser comic books, and they've gotten really no coverage. They seem to be so niche that only the most hardcore fans of the Hellraiser series would have even kind of known they existed. And as far as I understand it, it seemed like a lot of the Hellraiser comics are more moral plays than horror movies, where the horror movies are mostly just vulnerable girl is fighting against overwhelming odds of a magical creature, which is half the Hellraiser movies. Or just excuses to show off horrific effects. Alright, my strategy is somewhat working, but I need more mana. Like, if I can get more mana, I could probably play everything here and win. But if he can just pound me over and over again before that happens with his flying creatures, like, he's gonna get me in 4 turns. So I need to put a stop to that. see, next we have a game on Steam called Bunker 56, which looks like it is a ugly asset flip horror game. Let's see, seems like it might be a bunker survival game. The last one of those I played though didn't have enough scenarios written into it, and it wasn't very entertaining. This is 99 cents, but it was the other one called for surviving a bunker. It's not even listed down here as this is an English and Russian game also, and that's a red flag. But yeah, 60 Seconds was the name of the game I was thinking of. Yeah, 60 Seconds. Not a game I enjoyed. Even with newer updates, it's still not really something I enjoy. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called 9 Circles of Hell, which, while a provocative title, looks like it really is nothing other than maybe a marble puzzle game of some sort, or like it really does look like it is just polygons on top of polygons. It says it's a strategy game. It looks like it might be like a puzzle that, if it were in the real world, would be potentially interesting. To rotate a bunch of rings and get marbles to fall into the right place. But in a digital world, it seems like it would fall apart very quickly. Ah, this sucks. I have like every card I need, and I just don't have the land. Let's just concede. Let's not stretch us out and waste our time. Be kind of crazy if we got stuck at silver tier 3 when we made it to gold 1. Well, it might take a while. So yeah, I was at gold 1, last one, and constructed. So if we can get up to platinum and get 3 packs, and they have changed what the rewards are now. They are the Theros icon. If we could get 3 packs each month for 3 or 4 months, that would be nice. And then 2 card skins, and then it doesn't really seem to even indicate how much actual gold you get. I'm like clicking on this, right clicking, left clicking. If we could get to platinum 1, that'd be great. I think it's a little unrealistic to get to want to get to diamond or mythic. Like it would be nice certainly, but I think that's probably asking too much for a free-to-play, or mostly free-to-player. Game of Citro has an article here. Get a Job, PlayStation is hiring a character rigging supervisor for San Diego, California. We have seen enough indication of job listings in the California part of Sony Entertainment Interactive, or Sony Interactive Entertainment, that it fairly seems obvious that they are working on a in-house game of some sort. I can't immediately assume it's a AAA game, but odds are very high it would be a AAA game. It seems like it is going to be a 3D game, so it's not a simplistic small 2D game, which obviously I would not be surprised with the way that they've kind of disassociated themselves with Japanese developers, that they're going to try to make in-house games, and this is some crazy California concept of a game. Odds I would put on that it's going to be something like Destiny. It's going to be something that is a a games as service first person shooter experience. Like, and that's not really where PlayStation games have been best known. They could be doing something sort of like Uncharted, which tells a little bit more of a story than a games as service first person shooter. But I would bet, if I'm just snowballing here and guessing, they probably do have some brand new IP that's not related to anything else, games as service product. Because I don't think they're gonna get Spider-Man, which would probably be what they really would want, is the development of the next Spider-Man game for the PlayStation, to make that an in-house exclusive. But I don't think they would have the ability to do that. And I can't imagine well, frankly, I can't imagine anybody in California, in Hollywood or San Diego coming up with an original idea either. So I think it will probably be rather derivative. Now, that is definitely my personal bias, based on my interpretation of what I've seen before. But yeah, I think we're going to see a games as service first party game, first person shooter, first party game coming out of Sony as one of many first games launched on the PlayStation 5. And I imagine the new controller patent might even have something to do with the development of this new game. Adding a few more triggers and buttons might have been motivated solely by internal house development versus third-party development. Which, in fairness, I would say Microsoft owns a bunch of video game companies, and some of those video game companies probably should have some conversations with Microsoft and say, hey, this is what we would like to see added to the next version of your controller. And because it doesn't really feel much changed in the latest iteration of the Xbox controller, as far as so far we've seen. Now, maybe there's just a lot of technology underlining that, or perhaps it's just a price reduction, which the price reduction would be fine too. Like if Microsoft said that they just figured out how to make their controllers cheaper, so you're not paying $30 for a new controller whenever you need one. That would be nice too. Although most people don't end up buying too many new controllers anyways. Like maybe over the lifetime of a console you get one extra controller. It's just people that like me that play games constantly that tend to wear them out. In all fairness, I knocked mine over into the floor, so it's taking damage from just being dropped a lot more than it should. Moving on, we have a game with a bunch of Asian characters called Medieval Monarch. This looks like this is just a low-effort strategy Chinese game. It looks terrible. It's early access, English not supported, $6.69 discounted, Chinese only. Yep. You know, traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese as languages are kind of quite unique. I don't know of any other country that has two languages that get that special preference. Like, there definitely is, to an extent, a simplified version of United States speaking English and versus like British speaking English or Old English, but nobody would ever try to promote those different small different languages as something that that needed their own category. So that's kind of a long-winded way of saying Chinese are a little presumptuous to either they need to have all of their people learn traditional Chinese, which I hear is incredibly difficult, or just abandon talking about traditional Chinese and say the new dialogue is simplified Chinese. Like it's the equivalent of people in the United States being taught how to write and speak Old English. It's silly. Moving on, we have a game called Brawl Hopper, which looks like a Smash Bros. Clone, or at least the attempt at a Smash Bros. Clone, but maybe it's a jumping game also. Looks like it's kind of nothing. Early access, $3.99, English only. Looks like it's a build your own game because we didn't bother to build one ourselves type product. This was a slightly comedic story. WWE 2K2020 rings in the new year with a Y2K bug. Apparently it was completely unlaunchable as of 2020. So yeah, that's dumb. I mean, you really can't call it anything other than that. That's just insanely bad game design that a modern game would have effectively a Y2K bug in it, particularly when you have 2020 in the name of your game. Next we have a game on Steam called Frontiers, which looks like a low effort medieval simulator RPG game. You can see it's mixed already, so this one really would not deserve to be on the fall list. It's $14.99, English only, with full audio allegedly. Although I would say no, it doesn't have full audio because you're seeing lots of dialogue pop up in the bottom. And I doubt those are just subtitles. I can see the beginning of the end, but it'll probably still take about an hour to finish. Next we have a game on Steam called Art Heist, which is a art heist with guns, which frankly is the bad kind of an art heist to simulate. It looks like it's a VR game too. Like, if you're gonna rob or have somebody simulate robbing a museum, just running and gunning it's not the interesting part. No art heist or heist movie is good if it takes 5 minutes and just requires a lot of firepower. This is $11.04 discounted, English only. Another one not worthy of the fall list, although in all fairness, it's not like I'm really putting a ton of it's not like I really put a ton of VR games on the fall list anyways, and really shouldn't be putting any of them, because even with the announcement of Half-Life Alyx being a VR only concept, VR only game, that literally did nothing to encourage me to even think about wanting to own a VR headset. I am much closer to wanting to own a Switch just for my own personal entertainment over I just gotta attack with everything I've got, I guess. Alright, if I can put this on the field, and this on the field, and then this on the field, Man, if I could have just gotten one more thing, I could have won. But I think I've lost. Alright, 3 damage. He'll do 7 with this. Is there some way I could... save myself here? No, he's just gonna attack with this and then that'll be that. Did I have a better option here? Could I have played this at some point? Probably. That was a guy that was playing particularly carefully also, which is nice to see better players, even if I am losing to him. Next we have a game on Steam called Art of Deception, which is just a RPG maker game. English not supported. $8.99 I believe is what that says. Russian only. Yep. That looks like a great starting hand. Like, almost certainly I don't have enough mana in my deck. Like, still. I really probably should water it down to having 3 or 4, maybe even 6 more lands. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Superhot VR grossed over $2 million in the final weeks of 2019, which I guess might be an indication that there was actually some decent sales for VR this holiday season, which would kind of make sense. You could certainly see a pattern where people hear about Half-Life Alyx, they buy a VR headset. Because of that, they want to play something now. VR, super hot VR would be a good choice. So, gonna go ahead and play this. Next we have a game on Steam called The Burning Descent, which looks like it is a first-person shooter VR game. Doesn't look terrible. Maybe not the greatest either. There's a little dark screenshot on it. I'm having a hard time seeing what the actual enemies are. It seems like you're kind of just standing in a place shooting boxes, and the boxes are shooting back. 4 players battle each other. Early access, $11.99. Online player versus player. It says it has single player. I don't believe it. English full audio. So inevitably you've got a big problem there with potentially never having anybody to play with in VR, because it's just so expensive to have a VR headset, and frankly people don't want to spend a lot of time playing VR games because it's exhaustive physically. Well, this guy's gonna take a while to move. Next we have a game on Steam called Everyone Dies from a developer called JPEG of Pain Games. It looks like it's probably a slightly more polished asset flip zombie shooting game. But unfortunately it probably isn't polished enough that I would bother to put it on the follow list. This one I don't think is going to get a whole new visual redesign on it and get a bunch of story and content and maps added to it. It's $3.99, which makes it too cheap. It's English and Russian, which raises a red flag. Yeah, it's just got too much going for it. Right. Let's just keep on playing. So we'll just go toe for toe until he plays a couple more characters on the field, and then I'll play this and kill him. Next we have a game on Steam called Cut Smash Wrap, which seems like it's some kind of rock paper scissors game mixed Tetris, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, it seems like it's a Tetris game, and honestly I don't think I really would want to play a Tetris game, but I might give it a chance. Let's see, it's 84 cents discounted, English only, single player, match 3 or 5 blocks to multiply your score. No, it's a little just too simplistic. Like, that's kind of the only problem with it, is it's just a little too simplistic. If you were trying to sell me on playing Tetris in 2020 also, I would have the same response. It's just like, yeah, that's not what a video game is these days. Okay. Did I make it? No. No, I didn't. How far off was I? 6, 7, 8, 9. I was 1 short. So the gamble here would have been if I had a 1 mana creature. And that would have been it. If I had gotten a 1 mana creature, I would have been able to activate that and win, but I didn't, so I didn't. And yeah, we're kind of having a losing streak now, unfortunately. But we might as well play ranked. Next we have a game on Steam called Runner Heroes, The Curse of Day and Night. It seems like it's an infinite runner where there is a copy of you in shadow, which I'm not sure what that really would change too much. Let's see if we watch the video. Seems like almost you'd just be controlling 2 characters, and that would make it incredibly dangerous or difficult to play. Seems like you also fall and swim, so there actually does seem like there's more of a gameplay here. Play in single mode or in with a friend in cooperation mode. The problem with this is you're still just playing an infinite runner game. This is something that would have been a sequence that would have been interesting otherwise, but since it's the only part of the game, that's kind of boring. Also, they want $17.99 discounted on it. Bunch of language supported, 50 achievements. That possibly is an achievement game. Hate to get rid of that, but really don't have a choice. Yep, so Runner Heroes just priced itself out of a sale by asking for too much. Let's see, play this. Next we have a game on Steam called Winter Break, which looks to me like it's a snowball shooting slingshot collection of like mini games in VR for no good reason. Yeah, it seems like you slide around on a block of ice and are slingshotting snowballs, and that literally might be the only real gameplay here. This isn't terrible if you were just super rich, had a VR headset, and wanted your kid to play something in VR. It's not the worst things ever, although we're probably 2 or 3 generations past the point where it's good parenting to even let a kid have slingshots, because let's face it, kids with slingshots break out windows eventually, regardless of how good or bad they are, or whether they even intend to break the windows or not. But yeah, Snowball is $9.99 and requires VR and is English only, so not the worst VR game I've seen, particularly one targeted to kids, which of which there's very few. Let's see. Now, this is kind of interesting. Gamasutra has decided, apparently, either they left early for the end of the year and didn't get their articles in on time, or I would almost guess that the editor or editor-in-chief left early and didn't approve the articles. So instead, what they're doing is January 2nd, releasing the top 10 games of the year after the new year, which I think is a pretty dumb idea, frankly. It's a little dumb that Gamasutra would even be listing their content creators' games of the year anyways, considering how Gamasutra is mostly known for publishing industry articles and pushing their sister company GDC. You would think that they would want to be a little bit more neutral on that aspect and not pick favorites. Speaking of reviewing games somewhat, IGN has decided to go from a 10-point scale to a 100-point scale, which I don't think really means too much of anything, frankly. So that's going to cost me 2 to attack each time. And then every turn, that's going to do damage to me, so I am in trouble. So I gotta just kind of wait my turn, like just wait until I get Bola Citadel. And if I do get Bola Citadel, then I'm gonna have to work hard to try and win even at that. It's like I just can't do anything. But the good news is it doesn't seem like he can do too much either. tap this target creature. How many guys do we have on the, in there? Not too much. 2, 4.
I've seen these tricks before. Time for a drink.
This isn't gonna work out well. Yeah, unless this guy got really buffed up and I could hit him several times. And he's just doubling the pain.
Accept the darkness within.
That. Play that, I guess. Just do no attacks. How many do we have on the field now? 3, 6, 7, 8. We need one more on the field and Bull Citadel, and then we could do 10 damage. But we would need, frankly, 2 more Vindictive Vampires on the field, which means we'd probably fail or lose first.
Servitude.
Next we have a game on Steam called On the Verge 2, which seems like it's a horror game too. Looks like it's probably a Russian horror game. There might be something here. There's a bit of polish here. It's early access, $5.99, English, Russian, and Chinese, which are red flags, but I'm going to put this on the follow list because this actually does look like an attempt at making something that actually looks like a horror game. And it doesn't just look like it is an incredibly cheap and lazy effort in making a horror game, which is what most of the other games of these types tend to look like. Alright. If I were to attack right now on this guy with the 6, he's only got like 1 spell. I could probably attack this guy and save myself some damage, so let's do that. And that's got him at 40. So I kind of need to play Bola Citadel, but I can't actually do anything with Bola Citadel. I would just kind of need to... Well, he could have sacrificed Ill-Gotten Gain and done 4 damage, so now we're at Silver Tier 4. So we're just not doing good. Let's just move over to that, and just to keep things interesting, let's see. Play a little Liliana's Legion. I suppose the good question would be, at what point does it no longer make sense to play Liliana's Legion for fun? Some of these pre-built decks are obviously going to be pretty useless eventually. Well, I guess they'll just get banned if Magic does what Magic says it's going to do. And I guess all the cards in Liliana's Legion could just end up on the banned list. And I guess as soon as it's not playable, then you could delete the deck. Let's see. Don't want to do that yet. What does this do? This is probably not the one you want to even use this on either. I can go ahead and attack since I'm flying. Next we have a game on Steam that's just a bunch of Asian characters. It looks like it's a mobile RPG game by the looks of it. A Chinese mobile RPG game. Can't really say much more about it though, since there's literally nothing else here. It's free to play, but with in-app purchases, and it's Chinese only, so yeah. I guess in general I do like the idea of mobile games coming to Steam instead of, for instance, having to install an emulator and jump through hoops to get a Android game running on PC. I'd say that's pretty much it though. As far as my interest is, I like it in concept. It's something that is kind to people who really love mobile games, but most mobile games I probably won't just come to Steam without having a PC version that they make. And honestly, the PC versions are the better idea. If Destiny Child had a PC version, that would be amazing. Although I still probably couldn't stream it. Alright. Turn non-land permanent, and then amass. So do I want to do that? Like if I return a this to my hand, doesn't it just disappear? Like I don't think you can have a token in your hand. Yeah, as far as I can figure, you wouldn't be able to have a token in your hand, so it would just get destroyed. There's little things about this game that aren't well explained. Let's go ahead and kill that, just for good measure. I'm losing here. Really got nothing. Let's see, next we have a game on Steam called Witchcraft Pandora's Box, which looks like it's an adventure game. It's tagged as a match 3 mouse only game. I would classify it as a hidden object game because this is definitely a hidden object scene, and frankly any game that has hidden object in it is a hidden object game as far as I'm concerned. This is $4.24, so it's a little bit cheaper. They're also saying it's a hidden object game. It's English and German. So yeah, I guess if you still have hidden object games you want to play, here's another one from HH Games.
My army will envelop this world. Oh, I do love a good death wail.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna win here. Next we have a game here called, well, it's a bunch of Asian characters and then Melancholy Love. It says it's an RPG. I'm not so sure though. It looks more like a visual novel to me. Possibly a Chinese visual novel, but the animation style is pretty good here too. I want to watch this. English not supported, $3.99, which means it's really too cheap for a visual novel, so it's probably short. And yeah, Chinese only. In all fairness though, this does at least look like better animation as far as visual novels from China go. So yeah, there's something to be said there. We'll probably play one more game after this if I can't get through all the news, and then we'll just try and finish the news. Let's see. Because I'm not really getting anywhere with victories, and we're almost done with all that. We've got a game here called Ray Versus, which seems to be like a Tron Light Cycles type game meets Bomberman clone, but the animation looks pretty bad, and it doesn't seem like it's a big enough play field. It's $1.99, English only. Yeah, just not enough polish there. Do I want to take that hit, or do I want to block that hit? There you go. Draw 2 cards, amass 3, play a land. Now, I guess maybe for Friday, we're not getting any adult lewd games. So I'm guessing maybe there was none approved over the past couple of weeks because people were taking off. And that's where that's really going to boil down to, is that they just didn't announce any, or didn't approve any, and that's why we're not seeing any. I think we already talked about this game, Card Princess, where it looks like somebody was trying to make a collectible card game and then at the last second decided to turn it into something very different that looks very weird. $3.19, bunch of languages. I suspect this is probably a cheap Chinese game or a mobile port. Trying to be not a mobile port or not look like a mobile port. Alright. This does have flying now, so I can take that guy out. Meanwhile, if I was to attack with this guy, would it do anything? Not really. So let's just go ahead and attack. that somehow spells my doom, I guess. Oops. Next we have a game on Steam here called Try Again, which looks like it is just a combination of gibberish, for lack of a better explanation. $1.79, English and Russian. Yeah, looks like a low effort Russian troll game. This. Does that have lifelink? Lifelink, lifelink. If it has lifelink twice, does that mean anything? I don't think it really does. Yep. And that was a loss. So yeah, theoretically off screen, I should get 4 more victories. That would get me a little bit more mastery points, which probably have got a couple more rewards here. Let's see. Because this ends in 12 days, yeah, we've got at least another week's worth of XP that we can pour into this to get more and more of those. Let's just finish up here. We've got a game with a bunch of Asian characters. Looks like it's a cell phone game of some sort. Looks like it might be kind of like a word Tetris combination game. It's $1.39 discounted. It's Chinese only. Yeah, a Chinese or Asian language word game would be almost impossible to translate accurately and well. Next we have more Asian characters. This one is a visual novel, and the animation looks good, but I suspect this might be Chinese anyways. If it is probably one of the best looking Chinese visual novels, because you've got a pretty good background, great character animation, you've got the background changing, you've got different characters in different positions. Here in this background here you see a bunch of other people, which a Chinese game would almost certainly not bother to animate. Here you've got in the background other people. Here you've got groups of people. There's just a lot there. This is $12.74, and it is Chinese, so I really have to applaud this game. Unfortunately, I can't name it, but at the very least, it is polished. It looks like the level of quality you would get from a good visual novel. And now the writing might be terrible, and I, not speaking Japanese, wouldn't be able to speak to that even if I played the game, which I wouldn't really be able to. Let's see. We are getting a lot of Chinese games in general, though. I'm wondering again, is there perhaps some luckiness thought in releasing games on the new year or around the new year in China, in the Gregorian calendar new year? That is, not the Chinese New Year. I could see luckiness in the Chinese New Year. Next we have a game here called Pipeline of Emperor Yu, which is just really a simplistic slide pipes puzzle game, and they're just putting a weird Chinese spin on it for kind of no reason. It's a slide puzzle game, but they're putting some story in it, so I can't really complain about that. This is $2.54 discounted, and it says it supports English and Chinese, but I kind of question that, because I am not seeing any screenshots that say any English language. Also, you can kind of see this feels like it's an iPad game with the buttons all on the side. So yeah, I'm not going to put that on the fall list. It's also just a little too simplistic a game. Next we have a game on Steam with a bunch of Asian characters called Sands of Salazar, which I assume is a misspelling of Salazar, with it. Or perhaps there is a Salazar and a Salazar in Middle Eastern stories. I like the animation style of the characters, but then it seems like it just turns into a top-down hack and slash Diablo-esque game. Again, seems like it's Chinese. doesn't look incredibly bad. Does seem like it might have slightly too many, slightly too much menus and words. But yeah, again, looks more polished than most. Early access, $12.74, Chinese only. I like this animation particularly, but it really is just not connected at all to what the game actually looks like. So we've got about 5 more games. Here we have another game with just Asian characters. It's a top-down RPG, free-to-play, massive MMO RPG. Again, looks Chinese, free. In-app purchases, Chinese only. Yeah. So we really are just getting the exact same thing over and over again. Lots and lots of Chinese games coming out on January 1st or around January 1st. Next we have a game here called Yuki Onna, and then a bunch of Asian characters, and I suspect this is a asset flip horror game. This one might be Japanese, but it's pretty low effort either way. $4.49, English and Japanese. We are unfortunately starting to see a really small increase in low effort Japanese PC games, and I prefer not to see that happen, but that really seems to be the case. And then this game showed up a second time, December 29th, Yang 2020 Path to the Presidency. I'm fairly certain this was already listed, and then they took it down from the listing, and then they listed it again. So I don't know if somebody is just spending $100 to list and then unlist and then relist, which would probably be a violation of Steam's marketplace agreement, Steam's publishing agreement, whatever it is. But it does seem like that happened for one reason or another. Or perhaps maybe it did get flagged and got taken down, and then Steam and Valve said, no, we'll let it on. With their libertarian hands-off approach, I wouldn't be surprised. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Tennis Fighters, which seems to be a tennis game with also some weirdness around the characters. But I really couldn't hate the idea of a robot playing tennis any more than I could hate the idea of a Yoshi playing tennis. This is from TDO Games, which looks a little bit like THQ Games. It's $16.99, which prices it out. It's too expensive, and it's English only. I might have put this on the follow list if it weren't for the price, but no, that's too expensive for a tennis game, particularly from an unrecognizable developer and publisher. Unfortunately, I guess that just really admit that if somebody like Electronic Arts made a $16 tennis game, I'd give it a lot more credibility and a lot more of a chance than just a random person on Steam, because yeah, that's the Steam marketplace for you. Random people don't get a lot of benefit of the doubt, and even though the AAA developers really don't get much benefit of the doubt because they've lost it all and used it all up, they still get more than a random developer. Next we have a game here called Zomnom, which seems to be kind of a badly programmed platforming game. The concept of a platformer where you're playing as a zombie, I think, kind of falls apart when you see that this guy's gonna walk a little bit slowly, and when he runs into any enemies, he takes several seconds to swipe at them and kill them, and then you have to press a button to eat the brains. This is a free-to-play game with no in-app purchases, so almost certainly this is it's using Kevin MacLeod open source music. this is either like a student project or just a low effort project and or experimental game demo concept demo type experience. And it's not saying it's a student project, so yeah, I don't think I would waste the time to cover it. It's free, so I guess if you're out there and do like it, you can play it now. Next, we have a game on Steam called Prince Cavid the Game, which I have no idea what Prince Cavid would mean. It looks like it is an asset flip attempt as a RPG, but really looks like more of a 90s RPG more than anything. Seems like it's attempting to be almost something like a Dark Souls, which why in the world would you even try to make something, or perhaps better described as maybe a Prince of Persia, Prince of Persia type game. But yeah, it just lacks so much polish. It's in early access, it's 99 cents, it's English only. Yeah, nothing there to show off. As a reminder, the reason why I'm going off screen every time I look at the games is just so there's not anything YouTube unfamily friendly, whatever that even means in 2020, that would pop up. Next we have a game on Steam called Danger Gazers, which looks like a top-down twin-stick shooter game. Doesn't look particularly polished or unique. It's $5.99, English full audio, allegedly. You really do end up saying the same thing over and over on the same games, or different games. It's like, it doesn't look that polished. It says it has audio, but I kind of don't believe it has audio. Let's see. Next, we have a game called Dariny Guardians Rise. Here you have somebody's drawing that they seem to have drawn in the real world and scanned of a character, and then they made an RPG Maker game that's not even 16 by 9 to try and show off that character. This is $7.64 discounted. It's English. It's nothing. And seeing this drawing scanned, clearly it's been scanned. I can see like folds and creases in the paper, and it hasn't even been photoshopped to like clip it out and remove the background. Makes me kind of sad, because it very potentially is like a 6 or 7 year old that that just does not know any better, and somebody's putting up their game that they did as an educational experience on Steam. Hopefully that somebody's dream doesn't get crushed because of that. Alright, well, that puts us at the Humble Bundle store, and yeah, there's no new Humble Bundle for video games, which then that would put me at my Twitter feed. And let's see if there's anything that really needs to be talked about. I would say probably not, because I would do rather well to have some games left over the weekend and built up for Monday. And frankly, on a sleepy Friday, which is pretty much every Friday, there's usually no video game news. There might be some other news, certainly, but I don't think there'll be any video game news. A new Ni no Kuni anime movie is coming to Netflix January 16th. Okay, that's interesting. A anime based on a video game that looks like an anime. It seemed probably that was going to happen. But that's it, really. One bit of news. It'll be a slow couple months, which I should use these slow couple months to make more content, pre-record content. That's going to be it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.